everyone. We have Dr. Professor Srikumar Rao. He is an executive coach and also a TED speaker. He has authored about 3 books now, and yeah, a long time devotee of Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. Did I miss out something, Prof, other than plethora of other things?
Thank you, Sharanya. And I just wanted to say what a wonderful pleasure and honor it is to be here and to hear the chanting with devotion of Aksharamanamala in America. Wonderful, wonderful are the ways of Bhagwan. As Sharanya mentioned, I am an executive coach and I have a special niche in coaching. I coach people who are very successful, typically entrepreneurs and senior executives who who are driven, who really want to make an impact on the world, but at the same time, they have an explicitly spiritual bent that they wish to bring into every aspect of their life. So it's a very narrow, well-defined niche, but that's the sandbox in which I play. And a big chunk of my coaching really is the teachings of Ramana Maharshi. And they're eminently applicable to all areas of life, especially corporate life in America at the highest level is super relevant. So that's my area. I was first introduced to Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi when I was a teenager. I read A Search in Secret India, and that had a strange, powerful influence on me. In fact, I conducted a course for many years at many top business schools in America, and it was a course called Creativity and Personal Mastery. And one of the required readings for that course was A Search in Secret India. So at that time, I was intuitively drawn to it, but it really didn't make sense to me. I knew it was important, but I couldn't understand it. I mean, what's all this? Inquire, who am I? I know who I am. I'm Srikumar. I've done my PhD at Columbia. I'm an executive. So it really made no sense at all. And it's only much later now that not only does it make sense, but now it's coming viscerally alive. So it's not only, it's not anymore what does it mean? But of course, that's the way it is. How could it be otherwise? And increasingly, all of his teachings are no longer things to be understood intellectually, but they're coming viscerally alive. And that is also part of what I'm communicating through my coaching. And what I'm also finding is that many of the teachings of Ramana Maharshi, when they're expressed through some of his devotees, like Annamalai Swami, like Major Chadwick, Mauni Sadhu, actually have an even greater impact than his teachings directly in the sense of the child. As we all know, Bhagwan Ramana Maharshi never wrote any books himself. All of his works are basically transcriptions and translations, some of which he actually had seen himself and attested that this is fine, but others are reminiscences. So I find in particular the words of Annamalai Swami are having a tremendous impact. So I've been to Tiruvannamalai many times, and there are some things, as I said, that really come, it's like a hammer blow to the heart in terms of what they say. So one of the most mind-blowing concepts is that we don't really live in a real world. We live in a construct, and that is actually a core part of the course that I was teaching. And I've taught it, as I said, at many top business schools. So we think that we are a particular body, mind, intellect complex. We're working, we have a family. It's all a dream. In other words, you create the world that you live in, and then you experience it as you have created it. Now, this is a really mind-blowing concept. Think of it. We all live in a world in which there is this vast cosmos, billions of galaxies. Each one of these galaxies has billions of stars. And in one insignificant, mediocre galaxy, there is a star which is two-thirds of the way out to the end, and around that there are eight clots of mass going around, and the third one from this star is about 70% covered with water, and there's some land mass, and in that there is something we call the USA, and in that there is California, and in that here we are, and there's a mine, and the mine is infinitesimally small compared to all of that. That is flat out wrong. It is your mind that is infinitely vast because the entire universe, the cosmos, is contained within your mind. And that's your own direct experience. You go to sleep. When you go to sleep at night, what happens to this universe? What happens to the galaxies? What happens to all the myriad problems, the global warming, the presidential election, the war in Ukraine, the war in the Middle East? What happens to all of that? All of that's gone, and then there's a parallel universe. And let's say in that parallel universe, you are Julius Caesar and you're fighting to become dictator of Rome. And there's this guy, Pompey, who's in your way. So you gather up your legions and go after him. But the problem is that he has legions too. So your legions fight his legions and you win, and pursuing him, you come to Egypt, and there's this girl, Cleopatra, who's having issues with her brother, and you kind of like Cleopatra, so you go in with her and make her queen of Egypt, and you have an affair with her, and you have a son born of that. And then you go back to Rome to assume dictatorship of Rome, and then the Ides of March happen. And when Brutus stabs you, the pain is so sharp that you wake up. And then you say, it was all a dream. But when do you say it was all a dream? You say it's all a dream when you wake up. But when you were in the dream, it was real. Boy, was it real. And then you recognize when you wake up that you created all of that. You created that dream world. You created Rome, the Roman Empire, Pompeii, the legions, Cleopatra, your affair with Cleopatra. You created all of that, but you chose to identify only with a small part of it, the part that you called Julius Caesar. And then when you wake up, you say, oh, it was all me, but you identified as a small part of that. And then you go into deep sleep and everything vanishes. There is no Julius Caesar. There is no career as you have now in software or, tech or anything. It all vanishes and there is nothing. Now, if we define real as that which always is, then you're not real because you vanish. You go to deep sleep and then you become Julius, you go to dreamland and then you become Julius Caesar, and then you go to deep sleep and even that vanishes. There is nothing. So, what is real? What exists in all of those? What exists is the knowledge that you exist. I am. That is always there. When you wake up from deep sleep, do you have to ask anyone, hey, did I exist? No, you were there and you were perfectly fine. So that, as Bhagwan says, that is who you really are. And all the rest of that, as Shankara said, many times, swapna vicharam, it's like a dream, think of it as a dream. The problem is that it's a very powerful, entrancing dream. It will not let you go. And Bhagwan's thing was self inquiry is the direct path which will get you out of that. But what does it mean? You sit back and think, who am I? What does it mean, even who am I? Who am I is just another thought among many. Very difficult. So, as Bhagwan said, there are really two ways in which we can accomplish that goal. And one is go into self inquiry and constantly inquire, who am I? But the other one is, why don't you surrender completely to me? And if you surrender completely to me, then you do not have to give any thought to that. I will do all the work for you. That's easy. Okay, so let's surrender. The problem is that we do not really want liberation. And we think we have surrendered, but we really have not. How many times have you felt, oh, I've surrendered to Bhagwan, but look what still happened? The moment such a thought comes in, that is a clear indication to you, you have not surrendered. Or you have surrendered with strings attached. Everything is fine that you do, but this, and this has to unfold according to the manner in which I like it. And that doesn't happen because we live our lives in such a manner that we really do not want Bhagwan. We think we want Bhagwan. Yeah, that's good. But there are lots of things which are perfectly satisfactory, like the new Netflix series that's going to start next week, or dinner with a friend. There are lots of things in our life that are nice and good, and I like them. And in between, a little bit of Bhagwan, that's fine. And that's where most of us are. And it simply does not work. As Jesus said, what you need is seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and then all things will be added unto you. Bhagwan's grace is such that that's what has drawn all of us here today. It is His grace. It's not a conscious decision you made. It's His grace that is drawing you. Our problem is that we are not sufficiently open to receive His grace in the fullness with which He offers it. Because we've got too many other things that we want to do, too many other things that are pleasurable. We've got our career, we've got our families, we've got, all kinds of attractions. And in between there is Bhagwan. It does not work. Unless you get to the point where the pain of separation from your real self is so great that you cannot bear it. When Ramakrishna was there and he told Kali, Mother, you will reveal yourself to me this instant. And if you don't, I'm going to cut off my head. And he grabbed Kali's own sword and said, either you reveal yourself to me at this instant or I will cut off my head. And he grabbed Kali's own sword to do that. And at that instant, Kali walked out of the statue to present him. And Ramakrishna used to say, he gave the famous example of a disciple who was very interested in enlightenment, and he'd go to a sage and say, Master, please show me the way to enlightenment. And the master ignored him, but he was so persistent that one day the master said, okay, come meet me in the morning when I'm taking my bath. So the disciple ended up in the morning when the sage was taking the bath, and the sage promptly caught him by the neck and held his head underwater. And he continued holding it there, and he struggled mightily. And finally, he broke loose and he said, why did you do that? And the sage said, when your desire for God is as strong as your desire for the next breath was, then you will find him. And that is something that we have forgotten. As Ramdas said, the majority of people don't want to be free from prison. They just want better food. And that is really a profound statement. Because many of us go up and say, okay, my life is out of control. I want more peace. I want more stability. I just don't want to feel as upset as I'm feeling. So I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to meditate daily. Maybe 20 minutes in the morning, or half an hour twice a day, or I'll go to an occasional Vipassana retreat. And I'm not knocking any of those. Those are all fine, but they will not do it. Our minds, over many decades, maybe many lifetimes, have been riven with mental chatter, which has taken us to all kinds of places, that is still there, always there, powerful beyond. And it has generated such tremendous momentum, and the flywheel is going so fast that meditation will not slow it down. The best that a meditative practice will do is slow down the rate of increase of the momentum. If you're going to make any progress in this, the only way in which you're going to do that is if your entire life is a meditation. Let me repeat that. The only way you're going to slow it down is if your entire life is a meditation. That is everything that you do from the morning when you get up to the night when you go to bed. If everything is dedicated to Bhagwan, he is doing it, and you constantly have that. So, of course, the question comes, hey, how can I do that? I've got a career, I've got a demanding career, and I've got a new boss who's placing all kinds of demands on me, and I've got a family. How can I manage all of that? And the answer is all of that can be managed. You have a very strong sense. All of us have a strong, I am doing this. I worked hard. I studied, I have intelligence, and that's what's enabled me to reach the kind of success that I have achieved. False. Everything that you achieved was grace given to you. You really did nothing. It just happened. But you think you made it happen. And that thinking you made it happen, that sense of doership that is so strong, is a major, major, major obstacle. Look at your life. There are many things. You get up in the morning, there's so much stuff that you do, and you never think, I'm doing it. You brush your teeth, you go to the toilet, you take a shower, all of these things happen. You never think, I brush my teeth. It happens. But then you go to work and say, no, no, this is different. This is not like brushing my teeth. I have to use my brains. I have to decide whether to follow this strategy or some other strategy, whether I should fire this person or give the person another chance. I have to think about it. I have to do it. That is a story you're telling yourself. In reality, all of your life can unfold, and it will unfold perfectly without your having the notion that I have to do it. It is all being done. It is being done by Bhagwan. Only you have the illusion of control that I am doing it. but really you're not. So as Annamalai Swami says, if you want to be completely free from all worry, all stress, just give everything to Bhagwan. It's your problem. I got promoted to CEO. Hey, Bhagwan did it. Thank you. I got fired. Bhagwan did it. Thank you. It doesn't matter. It's like when you go to the temple and the priest gives you prasada, what do? You accept it gratefully. You don't say, oh no, this is banana. I don't want banana. I want mango. No, the idea is silly. You get prasada, you accept it gratefully. Having accepted it gratefully, you then ask, what do I do now? But the first step is you accept it gratefully. If you look at our lives, what are we doing? We're striving with might and main to make the universe unfold the way in which we want it to unfold. This strategy that I conceived has to work. Revenues have to grow up. My new hire has to perform well. Maybe yes, maybe not. You have that intention, you put it off. But you can have that intention and put it off and go forward with it, but go forward it with the recognition that eventually what is going to happen is what Bhagwan decides is going to happen. And even the thought you have that this is how it should unfold was not your thought. It was put into your head by Bhagwan. So recognize it and say, yeah, Bhagwan, you put this thought in my head, so I'm going to try my level best to make it happen. And if it is your will, it will happen. If it is not your will, it won't happen. But either way, it's fine. And just bless me so that I may always feel your presence. Abraham Lincoln is considered to be a great orator. And when people talk about Abraham Lincoln being a great orator, you're typically thinking of the Gettysburg Address, which is a fantastic speech, 7 years ago, and so on. But his second inaugural was equally good. And that's where he talks about with malice towards none, with charity for all, I will do the right as God gives me to see the right. Notice it doesn't say I will do the right thing. It says I will do the right as God gives me to see the right. What God gives me to see the right tomorrow may be different from what God gives me to see the right today. In that case, tomorrow I will do the right as God gives me to see the right tomorrow. But at any given time, the intent is always there. And that is a perfect encapsulation of what Bhagwan said. You leave everything to him, but you've got education, you've got experience, you've got a whole bunch of life learnings. So all of that was given to you by Bhagwan. So utilize that because it was given to you for a reason. So you do it. But even as you're doing it, just recognize that Bhagwan is acting through you. You're not really doing anything. You're the FedEx guy. The FedEx guy delivers the package, but the package doesn't come from the FedEx guy. It comes from somewhere else. And that's you. You're the FedEx guy. Try to be a good FedEx guy and make sure the package doesn't get damaged and all the rest of that. But recognize that you are the FedEx guy. Having that thought in your mind all the time is equivalent to remembering Bhagwan all the time. And it's only when you remember Bhagwan all the time, and this we're talking 24/7. When you start on this journey, you find you will forget. You will forget. Sometimes you'll forget in seconds. And having forgotten in seconds, you don't remember it for days or weeks. That's okay. Each time you remember you've forgotten, go back to it. And go back to it, and go back to it, and go back to it. This is the rest of your life journey. And as you keep doing that, if your intent is there and strong, then you'll find that Bhagwan's grace, which is always there, will come more and more. And you will have a visceral sense that it is there. And that is when you can have all kinds of problems, but they're no longer problems. Just stuff that has to be done. and things start happening. That is what is meant by, when Christ says, and he goes before you to make the crooked path straight. And you will actually experience that in your life as you get in down there, where your constant job is to turn everything over to him. Before I came to America, I met my guru. My guru was the Shankaracharya of Sringeri, not the current pontiff, but his predecessor, Rabindranath Vidyatirtha. And at that time, I was young and I wanted all kinds of things. And I spoke to him about my ambitions. And I listened to me very indulgently. And he gave me several pieces of advice, which at that time did not make much sense to me, but I realized how profound they were now. And one of the things he said is, Srikumar, the train is big enough and powerful enough to carry you and your suitcases. You do not have to carry the suitcases on your head. So that didn't make much sense at that time. But now it did. Think of the problems we're carrying around every day. How are we going to do in our job? What's going to happen to our marriage? Is our son going to get into Harvard or not? Or the myriads, things we are. All suitcases we're carrying on our heads. Put them down, leave them all. Bhagwan, this is your responsibility. You created this mess, you take care of it. Me, I'm going to go to sleep. Remember, Nimitta Matram Bhavasavya be thou my instrument, O Arjuna. You are not slaying the Kauravas. I have already slain them. All you're doing is losing the arrows. If you really have that firm conviction, then you'll find life is easy. One of the things that I didn't recognize till much later is that putting down the suitcases is not a once and it's done thing, because we have a nasty habit of we put down the suitcases and then 5 minutes later we pick them up again and we haven't recognized we picked them up. So putting down the suitcases is, as I said, not a once that, I've done it once and it's done, because you have a nasty habit of picking it up. So not only do you have to put it down, but it has to stay put down, which is not as easy as it seems. Once you become aware of that, though, the fact that you have this nasty habit of picking it up and you put it down again, then you'll find that it's easier to refrain from picking it up. But no matter what happens, you can say, okay, this is Bhagwan's grace pouring on me. Thank you, Bhagwan. He has blessed you. Your bonus is $10 million. Thank you, Bhagwan. Company is having difficult times. Not only is there no bonus, but you're being let go. Thank you, Bhagwan. And it is possible to cultivate that, but only if you think about it and think about it and think about it. What happens is we've been programmed, and all of society is against that, is taking you in a diametrically opposite way. Because society here is, you can do it, you can achieve anything. You have to be ambitious and go off and work hard and, execute strategies, look at all the others and see how successful they are. And you too can be successful. You just have to work harder, smarter, ambition that's there. It's all taking you in the exact opposite direction. Media is devoted to that. And we've been programmed, parents, teachers, classmates, friends, everybody programmed in the wrong way. Deprogramming that is not a day or a week's worth, it's the rest of your life journey. And we've become too comfortable. Here we are, we've got good houses, don't have to think about what to eat and so on. So little Bhagwan is nice. So when we're doing all of that, let's do a little remembering of Bhagwan and so on. All of that is nice, but it's not going to do it. The only time you're going to do it, as I said, is if your entire life is a meditation. Let me give you an analogy. You have a beaker of clear water and you put in some gravel in it and stir it up. And the water becomes cloudy for a while, but then the gravel settles down and you have clear water again. So now you take some sand and put it in and stir it up. It takes a little longer, maybe a few minutes, and the sand settles down. Then you take some gooey, gelatinous mud and put it in the beaker and stir it up. It could take months before that settles down and you have clear water again. And what if the meantime you keep stirring it up? You'll never have clear water. That's the state we're in. Then we go off vacation. Oh, beautiful mountains, wonderful sea. You feel at calm and peace. And then a week later, you're back at work and you're forgotten and you're back there. We're always stirring that gooey, gelatinous mud, and it's always going on. So we never have clear minds, and we never have clear minds. We cannot appreciate the radiance that Bhagwan represents. Look at that. Our entire life is devoted to going somewhere up. If you have children, and your children come and say, "Oh, daddy, mommy, I am bored." I say, "Oh my God, this is terrible. You're bored here. Why don't you try this new toy, go play with your friends and so on." Right? You're always directing them outwards. Same thing happens to you. You got time. Oh, let me see what there is on Netflix, or there's a new channel out there, or maybe I should go off for sports and hang out. Always outward directed. We're scared to go inwards and confront the mess that is between our ears. And as long as we're there, as long as we're directed outwards, and once in a while, a little, gathering, it's kind of nice, makes me feel good. And that's the situation most of are in, and it just will not hack it. The only way you can really appreciate Bhagwan, as I said, is if your entire life is a meditation. And that is such a profound disconnect with the way we live life that we don't even want to go there. That's what Ramdas meant when he said the vast majority of people don't want to get out of prison, they just want better food. But if you start on that process, again, Bhagwan has this beautiful analogy. Once you go a certain way along that process, then it's like a crocodile has grabbed you. And once the crocodile has grabbed you, you can basically forget about it because the crocodile is going to eat you. And the only thing that's going to be left is all of the stuff that is you. All that is not you is going to be taken away and digested. And what is left is you. So our journey is, let's get close enough so that the crocodile can catch us. And once the crocodile catches us, then we can basically relax. There's nothing more that has to be done. The crocodile will do the rest of it. So that is something, as I said, that I'm becoming more and more viscerally alive. That the normal way in which leave it, in which there are many things of interest, and in between a little bit of Bhagwan, a little bit of meditation is worth it, is that's where we're at. That is wonderful. But that itself is grace, because if you look around, how many people are there who don't even have that inclination? So the very fact that you're here, that you're listening to something like this, is a clear indication of Bhagwan's grace. Our job is to hold on to that and take it to the next level and the next level. And whether we can do that or not is itself more of His grace. And there's nothing you can do to earn it. That is His grace. It's just showered and it's always there. Just have to become better at receiving it. So that's just some of what is becoming more and more apparent to me. So I just thought I'd share that.
Thank you so much. I think we'll do some questions.
Sure.
So, been in this for a long time. You see all kinds of entrepreneurs.
Say that again.
You've been doing this for a while. You've seen so many very smart people, competent people. So, what are some specific instances where you've seen Bhagavan's grace? I mean, obviously, I know people follow
Everything is Bhagwan's grace.
but like in an entrepreneur's life, something that's relevant to people.
Say that again.
Someone who's not a Hindu,
Mhm.
not from this tradition,
Mhm.
who is a high-profile entrepreneur.
Oh, I have them all the time.
Yeah, what's the example?
So, okay, let me give you an example of something that I use all the time in my coaching and my courses, and Bhagwan doesn't come into it at all overtly, but the sense is very much there. So, Einstein said, the most important question you will ever ask yourself is the universe friendly? Okay? And this is a genuine quote from Einstein. He said, the most important question you will ever ask yourself is the universe friendly? Now, we all know people who believe that the universe is unfriendly and the sole purpose of the universe is to frustrate you. And relatively few in number. The vast, overwhelming majority of us believe that the universe is neither friendly nor unfriendly, it is indifferent. The universe doesn't know I exist and couldn't care less. So here I am going around doing my thing. There's the universe going around doing its thing. And sometimes it seems to be working with me. Sometimes it seems to be working ahead, against me. But essentially, it's a random process. But what if the universe was friendly? What if the universe was aware of your existence and the universe was well disposed towards you? The universe is friendly. Well, friends don't shaft friends, do they? Of course not. So if the universe was friendly, why does the universe give you stuff you don't want? You want to travel on vacation and the universe gives you pandemics and lockdowns. You want to get promoted and eventually become CEO, and your boss calls you and says your performance is unsatisfactory, and if you don't pull up your socks, you'll be let go next month. Why does the universe give you stuff you don't want? Well, supposing the universe gave you not what you wanted, but exactly what you needed for your learning and growth. So let's say you were a small child and you wanted a tub of ice cream, but the universe, through your parents, gave you fruits and vegetables. And you don't want fruits and vegetables. You want a tub of ice cream, but the universe gives you fruits and vegetables. And it isn't until you reach a entirely different level of maturity that you can say, thank God I got fruits and vegetables and not a tub of ice cream. What if the universe was exactly like that? Now, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that regardless of whether the universe was friendly or not, if you believed the universe was friendly, your experience of life would be immeasurably better, right? Believing in a friendly universe is a superior mental model, okay? But just because you recognize something is a superior mental model does not mean that you can adopt it. So if you want to adopt the model that the universe is friendly, you have to work at it. And how do you work at it? You work at it by looking actively for signs that the universe is friendly. So, and if you really actively look for signs that the universe is friendly, you will find so many of them. Like the other day, I had to go to the supermarket because my wife wanted, a couple of items for something she was making. And I just picked up those couple of items and I went to the checkout. And there was only one line that was open. And in front of me, there was a lady who had this big shopping basket overflowing. And I looked at that and said, oh my God, I'm going to be here forever. And even as I was thinking that, she looked at me and smiled and said, "Oh, you only have a couple of items. Why don't you go ahead of me?" So I went ahead of her, and then somebody tapped me on the shoulder and said, "I'm going to open up line number 2. Why don't you come there?" So I went off. Stuff like that happens all the time. And what do? We're temporarily glad, but then we ignore it. Big mistake. Look at each one of those and say, here is the sign of a friendly universe. So, and if you look for that, you'll find dozens every day. I'll give you another one. So I came down here and said, gee, okay, I'll come to the Ramana Satsang, but it's so far. How am I going to do? And Sharanya said, I'll be happy to pick you up and drop you back. Friendly universe. I had another coaching client. I had a coaching session before, and he said, will you come and meet with me in my office? And I said, sorry, I'm coming on a personal visit and I don't have time to go there. He said, can I meet you for lunch? I said, fine. So, he came down, we met for lunch. Friendly universe. If you look for that, there are so many times, but most of the time when things like that happen to us, we gloss over it, we don't acknowledge it. Acknowledge each one as a friendly universe. Now, this is how I customarily speak to my clients. But between acknowledging it as a friendly universe and saying this is Bhagwan's grace is a very slim thing, and you can use whichever way. So, I basically use my judgment on what my clients would be open to and what would make sense. And I have people from, every single wisdom tradition. I have Catholics, I have Protestants, I have Jews, I have Muslims, I have Buddhists. I even recently got a Baha'i CEO as a coaching client. So I basically use whatever inspires them. For some people, Krishna did it. For others, Allah did it. It works the same. Jesus did it. Whatever inspires them. But fundamentally, the process is the same. And deep down, it's really just the teachings of Bhagwan, though I may not necessarily put it in those terms, but it's entirely that. So it's a friendly universe. So when you look for signs that the universe is friendly, you'll find more. And one of the things I advocate strongly is don't just look at it, write it down. Because if you don't write it down, you'll forget. But if you write it down, within a few weeks, you'll find there are so many instances of it being a friendly universe that you'll reach your own personal tipping point and say, yeah, the universe is friendly. Now, this is your model that the universe is friendly, which is a superior model as we established. But what if the universe actually was friendly? Then quite literally magic happens in your life. And that is the time when you will feel the presence of Bhagwan guiding you through whatever happens. And then all of the things that you think are great misfortunes is simply stuff that you have to deal with. You're in the human predicament. Whenever you're in the human predicament, stuff happens. There will be serious illness and death. There will be relationship problems. There will be career reverses. It's part of being in that. So you deal with each one of these things as appropriate, but you will deal with it from the knowledge that you are okay. You have always been okay. You will always be okay. You cannot not be okay. Purnamadam Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate. You cannot not be full and complete. You just have to recognize that you are full and complete, and none of these things that happen has the slightest ability to detract from your fullness unless you allow that to happen. And Bhagwan's grace will simply make you aware that you are always full. Your job is to receive His grace. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. So